welcome to the first edition of Real Women. I'm Amber Carnish, and joined with me today is nationally recognized and upcoming filmmaker Samantha Lewandowski. Thanks for being here with me, Sam.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so for anyone who might not know you, can you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a senior in high school right now. I go to Har-Ber High School in Springdale, and I've been in the television program here for about 3 years. So very similar to you, I took our fundamentals class. I've been in his news program. I've been in the film program, and yeah, I'm just graduating this year and super excited.
Awesome. So you're a senior and you're in your school's film program. So let's talk a little bit about that. What was it like for you walking in your sophomore year? What was your first impression of the classroom?
Yeah, so at Har-Ber, sophomore year is also like your first year at high school. So on top of all of the nerves of like starting high school, it was very weird because I took the fundamentals of television class here, which is like your intro class. It's your first one that you take before you do anything else. And it was scary because I didn't have any friends. Like I didn't have any of my friends taking the class, so I walked in and I knew like not a person. I didn't know what table to sit down at. I was very intimidated. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I, sat down at a table. Some people came with me and like they were like, oh hey, what's your name? And it was cool because I got to meet a lot of new people that weren't in a lot of my other classes. But very intimidating is what I would say. I didn't know a lot, and then of course Mr. Sherman came out and he was like this boisterous like ball of energy, and I was like, okay, it's not going to be awkward. Like it won't be too bad.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to my first day. I remember I walked in, I was late. I got lost, and so I walked in, I was late. I didn't know anybody else either. And then I know that he's like very strict with people being late, so I was like, oh, what a great first day. Yeah, so yeah, my experience was pretty similar. It was pretty intimidating. Was film something you always saw yourself doing, or what was it that made you decide to join the class?
I always say that I've always been involved in like the entertainment industry. Like that's always what I wanted to do. I hate telling people this, but when I was in like 6th grade and middle school, I wanted to be an actress. Like that was where I was like, yes, I'm gonna be in Hollywood and like on movie screens. And then I realized I don't really like being in the spotlight. Like I don't like my face being on screen very often. So that's when I kind of like saw the program that Har-Ber had, and I was like, okay, video, like that'd be kind of cool. So that's why I signed up for Har-Ber's television class. And I wanted to quit sophomore year. When I took fundamentals, I wanted to quit like right before the first semester ended because I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so bad at this. I don't know anybody. I'm way out of my comfort zone. But then Mr. Sherman asked me to go to the STN trip. And I was like, okay, well, somebody sees something in me, so maybe I'll just stay. And now here I am.
Yeah. So. That's also pretty similar to what happened to me. I, again, didn't know anybody. And then one day, Sherman came up to me and was like, hey, do you want to go to Skills? You're going to work with a senior. And I was like, I guess.
Yeah.
And then it just continued from there.
It's so intimidating too, because you're like, oh my gosh, a senior, like what?
Yeah, yeah, and I had never met this girl before, and then we became friends, which was awesome, but yeah, it was like scary and intimidating because I went on this trip with, literally, I was the only sophomore, and so it was pretty scary, but it went really well.
You feel like you don't know anything about like videos. Like I think the first competition I did, I like didn't even know how to put a tripod up.
Yeah.
And Nick Lutra was asking me like, hey, can you put the camera on it? And I was like, what's a tripod plate? Like I don't know what anything is. So.
I was definitely just like her assistant. That's what it felt like.
Pretty much, me too, yeah.
How have you seen your growth over the past 3 years?
I've felt like I've grown a lot the past 3 years, not just in like my ability with what I've learned in film, but also just like personal growth. I would say I have to say the biggest way would be like confidence in myself. When I was a sophomore, kind of like I touched on earlier, I really didn't feel confident in this because I didn't know anything about film industry. It was very new to me, and that wasn't normal. I've always been in like the upper academic classes, so I've always felt like I've had a grasp on things. So coming into this program and not knowing a thing was really scary because I was like, I don't know anything. So now like as a senior looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've learned so much and I've become so confident in who I am and like confident in my ability to do a competition or to shoot a film, confident in showing my friends. Like I didn't want to show anybody anything I did sophomore year. So it's nice because now I'm like excited to be like, hey mom, like come look at this, or oh I shot this film this weekend, like come watch it. And it's been really, really cool.
Awesome. Well, can you tell me a little bit about some of the projects and films that you've done?
Yeah, I've done a lot. Well, looking back, I've done a lot. It doesn't really feel like it, but I got to do a really cool film last year for a competition for Skills, actually, and we like had to mimic a director, and so the director was Alfred Hitchcock, and you know he's like infamous for his like one shot kind of like horror. So we did like a mystery one shot film, and we spent like 8 hours one day just redoing this same shot over and over and over again, and it was really cool because it was like me and some of my friends, and it was, you know, it was in the middle of COVID, so it was like one thing that we got to do and actually like work on and go out safely, of course, but we like were all in a line going through a house with the camera, and we did it like thousands of times, it felt like.
Yeah.
But ended up winning second, so.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
What would you say is your favorite? Would you consider that to be your favorite project that you've done?
I always have trouble picking a favorite because each project like holds a different meaning to me. That one would probably be my favorite in like atmosphere of my friends, and like it was a super fun project. We like kind of spent the day, ate lunch, hung out together. I would say my favorite project with meaning would have to be my film Dear Diary I did this year. It was a project that was really unique because I did it all by myself. I did it in isolation, and I didn't have anybody helping me, and I chose a topic that was like really personal to me based on what was going on in my life. It's about like my mom getting cancer, passing away, and she doesn't have cancer, but my grandma and grandpa were both diagnosed with cancer at that time. So all of the feelings that like my main character had in that film were all things that I was feeling in real life, and it was
awesome.
So it was really special because it was just kind of like a way for me to kind of voice that, and
Yeah.
a lot of my other projects I would say don't necessarily give that opportunity.
I've actually seen that film. Travis sent it to me, and so I watched it. I thought it was really cool because it really shows that you don't have to have this gigantic crew to pull off this really great film. You just have to be really creative and innovative.
Well, thank you.
So you're a woman and you're a filmmaker.
Yes.
What has that experience been like for you?
Yeah, I'm sure you've probably felt the same things, especially coming from Har-Ber, which is the same program. I would say like right now, I've felt what women feel in the industry, but like on a really small level, because I'm not really in it yet. I'm not, working on professional shoots. I'm still in high school doing that. But I've definitely seen that it's intimidating. Like it's very male dominated. It's very, a lot of guys in there. Like I TA for a class, second period, one of his fundamentals class, and it's like 27 boys and 2 girls. And like that's very representative of the industry, I would say. And so it's very intimidating. It's hard to go into it and like not have any female voice or not have any friends that you feel like you can relate to. Not being a part of like the good old boy system of like, being able to talk about like when they joke and you being like, oh, do I laugh at that? Do I not? Like, I don't know, where do I find my place here? So I would say right now that's like the way I've experienced being a woman in film and all of that.
Yeah, which is really why I wanted to do this project, because I think it's really important to talk to other women and know their experiences and just like get more representation for them.
I love that. When Mr. Sherman told me about you wanting to do this project, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, because I think that women need a bigger voice in a lot of industries, but especially this one, because I think it's important to have perspective in everything that you do.
Touching more on that, what do you think the importance is on having women on set, on any of the roles?
Like I said, I think it's important because you need to have perspective. And I don't think it's just for film industry. Like I think when you look at STEM or medical fields or, technical fields, like having input from people of all different walks of life is really, really important. And I think that the female voice gives perspective that the male voice doesn't. And so I think in certain roles, maybe for certain projects, it depends, but I think a woman's voice can be a really awesome touch to a project. And I think we need to see more of that, because I feel like a lot of people don't see that, or there's a stereotype that like women can't be camera operators, or they can't be directors, and like you're here proving that is different, So I think people need to see that they can do it.
Yeah, that reminds me of the first time I worked on a feature film. I went as a locations PA, so I wasn't doing anything camera related, but a lot of the people were asking me like, oh, what do you want to do? I know this is like your first feature. What like position do you want to get to? And I kept saying, oh, I want to be a DP. And they'd be like, you want to be a DP? And I'd be like, yeah, I do. But I would get weird looks because of it.
Yeah. But, and I'm sure you felt like, oh, well, maybe like, do I want to be a DP?
Yeah.
Like you're embarrassed because you're like, oh, well, they don't think something.
Yeah, and especially because it was an all-male camera crew, that particular feature film. So it was a little bit intimidating to tell people that, but I know that I do have the capability to do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. For sure. So what piece of advice would you give to any woman that finds themselves in this position where it is a manlier job, so I don't really know if I should do it or pursue it? What advice would you give to them?
I would say don't be intimidated. Like, don't let, the intimidation of, oh my gosh, it's all guys, there's no girls there. Like, am I gonna have any friends? Am I gonna be able to fit in? Like everything we've talked about, like don't let it intimidate you. If it really is what you want to do, go for it. And maybe it's not. Like maybe film isn't where you find your passion. I mean, I thought I wanted to be a DP, and then I quickly learned that wasn't for me, not because I couldn't do it, but just because it's not what I want to do. And so I would just say have confidence in yourself. Don't feel like bogged down by there not being a lot of female voice.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, speaking of not wanting to be a DP, what can we see from you in the future? What are your future goals? I already know that your classmates look at you as a leader. So what do you expect from yourself in the next couple of years?
So I'm going to college when I graduate at Belmont University, which is in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm super excited. I plan on majoring in, they have a really cool creative entertainment industries degree. And so it's kind of more geared towards what I want to do. And I plan on also getting a degree in business entrepreneurship.
Awesome.
So I kind of want to do film and business combined. So I'm like, end goal, if you look at big dream plans, I'd love to be a producer for like a production company and kind of be the one that picks the projects and says like, yeah, let's do this. Let's find the funding for that. Like, let me get the crew and everything and kind of bring the story from start to finish. Because I love also just like the distribution, like the marketing, who are we going to target here? Like, where are we going to send our press tours? All of that stuff. That's like end goal, like super big dream. But I'm really open to anything in like the film business side. That all really interests me. So I'm super happy to be going to Nashville because I feel like it's a really cool city.
Yeah.
That has a little bit more opportunity than what's here.
Yeah, a lot of entertainment there.
Yeah, and it is more music, which kind of worried me at first because I was like, I don't want to get stuck in like the music realm. But I think that that's a really good way in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's exciting.
Thank you.
Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of Real Women. Be sure to tune into future episodes as we introduce women across the state who are changing the industry. On behalf of Samantha Lewandowski, I'm Amber Carnage, and I'll see you next time.